What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Tuesday. Hope everyone is having a great day today so far. All you East Coasters, it's lunchtime already. All you West Coasters, rise and shine if you haven't already. Get the gunk out your eyes. It's time to start the day. Be productive. Get to your local retailer. Get the new Becky Lynch book, Not Your Average Girl. Take it to WrestleMania festivities. See if you can get her to autograph it, all that good junk. We've got Walter in the chat. Good to see you, bro. Josh Mansfield with a $2 super chat. Good morning. Holy freaking crap. Yeah, yesterday was quite an episode of Raw. I've heard quite a few people giving the show high praise. I know Aaron Rift from No DQ gave it like A plus or an A minus, something like, saying it's one of the best episodes he's seen of Raw in a very long time. I didn't get to watch our buddy Datilla's review because she went live while I was still watching the West Coast feed, and then after Raw, I went to bed. I was tired, y'all. I literally rolled my butt out of bed about an hour ago, made myself presentable, and here we are. Okay, thank you, Josh. It was an A plus. I knew it wasn't a solid A. It was either a plus or minus, but I couldn't remember what the symbol was I saw next to it. So thank you for the clarification. Storylines, like the segments, the promos, I thought all that shit was spot on. And we'll get into that when I start running through it. The matches, I thought left a little something to be desired. So I can already tell you it's not going to be a perfect 10 for me. So it's not going to be on an A plus level, but it's still going to be good rank. But let's get into the stuff that actually happened. Raw kicked off with the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes coming out in Chicago, Illinois. Of course, we've been hyping up the last couple weeks. CM Punk is going to be in the building. Cody talks about how he acts like a champion because the champion isn't here. He talks about the stuff that he's done for other people, agreeing to be a guy named Anthony's best man at his wedding, agreeing to go to a kid's birthday party, helping the wrestling club get to WrestleMania, which is something we documented on Open Mic Night probably about a month ago now. And we showed the footage from that off of social media. And he asks the fans, he says he does all that and he wants nothing in return, but he does want one thing from the fans. He asks that on April 6th, going into the tag match, that the fans ride with him. And on April 7th, going into the title match with Roman Reigns, that the fans fight with him. And I thought that was really cool. Then he talks about the final boss, and The Rock shows up. Holy shit. The most electrifying man in all of entertainment, unannounced, y'all. It's going to be interesting to see what that quarter-hour rating was, because with The Rock unannounced, I'm curious to see if there is a huge spike going back to like the whole word of mouth, people letting other people know, oh shit, The Rock's on. The Rock whispers something into Cody's ear, and then he leaves to a chorus of boos. Now, keep in mind, Chicago is going nuts that The Rock is there. They are cheering like crazy until he turns around and leaves without saying a word on the microphone. Very well done segment. Definitely set up what would come later on in the evening. If you didn't watch, you've seen the image for the show today. Rock and a bloody Cody Rhodes. That happened much later. Again, we will get to that. Jackie Redmond tried to stop The Rock and get a little bit of clarification from him about what he said to Cody, and Rock just tells her, ask Cody yourself. Great follow-up to the opening segment, and then we will get Jackie and Cody later on in the show. We'll get there when we get there. Going back to my original comment, Josh says, except for Ricochet and JD McDonough and Jay Nakamura, he agrees. We'll get to those, Josh. Patience. We then go to the Judgment Day locker room prior to JD McDonough's match, and the entire squad tries to hype JD up, tells him to win something. JD McDonough has been the jobber of the group. Let's just be calling it what it is. He's been the jobber of the group. He's been the weak link, which is horrible booking right there because JD McDonough is too freaking good to be the jobber of the Judgment Day. Truthfully, there should be no jobber in the Judgment Day. They are too elite of a crew. But JD McDonough definitely shouldn't be jobbing as much as he is. And of course, he jobs here as well. We get Ricochet versus JD McDonough, and to Josh's point, this is a fantastic, fast-paced opening match. Dom was ringside to help JD, but ended up getting ejected, which was enough to allow Ricochet to pick up the victory. My issue with this match wasn't the fact that it wasn't a good match, and it wasn't even the fact that JD McDonough lost, but it was the you're gonna cheat to try to help him win, and then he loses anyway. You know, it one of the things that I think a lot of the matches here suffered from was overbooking. And I just don't think that was necessary. If he's going to job, let him job on his own. If you're going to cheat to help him, let it help him. But by having Dom cheat for him and JD still losing makes Dom seem like he's ineffective and a weak link also because he can't get his job done in helping JD win. Just my 2 cents. I agree, Walter. That is how you start a Raw. We're now getting ready to start the second hour, and CM Punk hits the ring. The Second City Saint himself in his hometown, Chicago, Illinois, says that he will be at WrestleMania, but he doesn't know what he's going to do. He talks about how people have asked him if he'll be the host. He mentioned the possibility of being commentator. The crowd starts chanting for him to be the referee. And he plays off that and is like, I wonder if there's a match that could use some unbiased official. And of course, he goes on, he mentions Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, about how they run their mouths about him when he's not even there. Mentions The Rock, who hasn't said anything about him, and then references one of his promo lines back from when he fought The Rock going into Rumble 2013, where he said that The Rock's arms are too small to box with God. And then he mentions Drew McIntyre, and of course, this brings out the Scottish psychopath. Drew then gets a few shots in on Punk as he makes his way down to the ringside area, where he sits down cross-legged, Indian style, on the announce table, very reminiscent to the way Punk used to cut his promos. And he makes a great one-liner. I actually chuckled pretty good about this one, about how CM Punk practices the straight edge lifestyle. No drugs, no alcohol, none of that stuff. yet he spends most of his time in rehab, alluding to the fact that he's injury prone. I thought that was a good line. As big of a Punk fan as I am, thought that was a solid shot there. Drew invites Punk to be the guest commentator in the match. And this brings out Seth Rollins because Seth, of course, has his issues with Punk. Punk is trying to insert himself into a match that he's really got no business in, according to Seth. So Seth takes a poll to see if Punk should be the commentator from the crowd. Of course, they pop, they go crazy. And after the initial round of cheers, the crowd starts chanting referee again. And Drew points out the fact that his counting arm is the one that's injured. So Punk drops down to the mat and counts with his left hand 1, 2, 3, showing that he can still do it even with his dominant arm being in a brace. Punk then says that he will take the spot on commentator for WrestleMania, and he'll do something that neither one of them has been able to do, and that's make them interesting. Drew then calls CM Punk a Drew McIntyre stan, and even breaks out some lyrics from the song, changing them just slightly. You know, hit me back just to chill. Your biggest fan, this is Phil. And after running his mouth with that, he gets super kicked by Seth Rollins. This was just a tremendous segment. We've still obviously got one more Raw, the go home next week, Brooklyn, New York. Rock has been advertised for that one, the go home show to WrestleMania. I can only imagine what's going to happen there if this much drama was brought to our screens with this show. We then had a Shinsuke Nakamura promo, one of the typical promos he's been doing lately, you know, doing the whole speaking in Japanese with the translation on the bottom. Very menacing. I love those promos from Nakamura. Then we go to the bullshit match of the night. Ivy Nile versus Candice LeRae. And my issue with this match wasn't even as much the way that Candice LeRae cheated to win, because she's turning heel. It's to be expected. It was how short it was. The women in the last, we'll say, 10 years have made such strides to be taken seriously. And I understand the Rock segment and the Punk segment probably went longer than they should have. But to continually cut the women's segments short is abysmal. It is just horrendous. There is other shit that could have been cut short to give the women just a little bit more time. The match was Ivy Nile was doing amazing work in there with Candice LeRae. And Candice, for all her flaws that I find, and everyone knows how I feel about her personally, was doing a good match with Ivy Nile. The two were clicking in the little bit of time they were given. And then for it to cut so quickly, so suddenly, and so horrendously just pissed me off. I don't know. What did you guys think about the way the women's match ended? Let me know in the comments. We then had a backstage segment with the New Day and DIY kind of taking a couple shots back and forth at each other in friendly jest because of their match coming up in a little bit. Awesome Truth came in, said they were going to be on commentary. We then had the match, New Day versus DIY, and it was a decent enough match until the Judgment Day hit the ring, caused the match to get thrown out, and we have another schmozzy overbooked finish. I understand to a certain degree that you don't want a team to look super weak going into this match where anybody can win. But I don't think you want to have every match have some kind of lame finish. I mean, so far we've had Dominic try to cheat, fail, and Ricochet win over JD. We've had Candice with a cheap foot on the ropes pinfall after a short match. And now we've got a match getting thrown out because of outside interference. This is what I was talking about at the start, that the matches just lacked for me. The action was good. The finishes were horrid. We then had Jackie Redmond backstage with Cody Rhodes, and she inquires, as The Rock told her to, trying to find out what The Rock said to her. And he said that what The Rock said is something that he would rather not repeat. But what he will say is that The Rock whispered a promise that he can't keep. Interesting. We then get Kathy Kelly with Gunther. And Gunther basically talks about how he doesn't take Sammy seriously. You know, Sammy has no chance beating him, blah, blah, blah. We then get Giovanni Vinci versus Andrade. And apparently this was supposed to be Ivar versus Andrade, but Ivar wasn't cleared, so they plugged Vinci in there. Either way it went, this was a good but predictable match. Andrade gets the victory here. You weren't going to have him job one of his first matches back in the company. It just wouldn't have made sense, especially building steam towards WrestleMania, especially the fact that Vinci's been the fall guy lately for Imperium, especially the fact that Ludwig Kaiser wasn't even there ringside to support Vinci. You know, it just, Vinci had no shot at this match. He was just the job guy. It's a bummer because Vinci's good. We then had Rhea and Dom come to the ring and start cutting a promo. Becky Lynch came out. The two of them had some verbal jousting back and forth. Rhea mentioned Becky's daughter, Rue, which got Becky all kinds of fired up. Legitimately looked like she was going to start crying in the middle of the ring. I don't know. Like, I'm still 50-50 as to how this match is going to go at WrestleMania, because the more and more that Rhea fucks with Becky like this, the more I think Becky should win. But I don't want Becky to win. I want Rhea to win and go past WrestleMania as champion. Lose the belt to whoever gets Money in the Bank. But I I don't know. This one I'm still really torn about. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to take it at WrestleMania between Becky and Rhea at this point? Keep in mind, we do still have 3 more episodes of TV, 2 SmackDowns, and a Raw before we get to WrestleMania. Let me know. I agree with you there, Emmanuel. It does feel like a one-match card. You then get Sami Zayn and Chad Gable backstage, and Gable kind of wants to apologize for the way things went down last week. And Sammy's like, no, it's good. You spoke your heart, you spoke your truth. You don't think I can win. Gunther doesn't think I can win. So he just kind of goes about it and ends up going out to the ring. And Sami Zayn takes on Bronson Reed here, and this was a decent match. Again, Gunther came out to the top of the stage to spectate, which caused a distraction, allowing Reed to get the tsunami on Sami Zayn for the victory. So now the number one contender to the Intercontinental title has just literally been squashed by Bronson Reed coming off the top with the tsunami. And we're supposed to buy him going in against Big Bad Gunther at WrestleMania. Bad booking here. Another distraction that leads to a victory. Another lame finish. Reed couldn't do it on his own. Sammy couldn't lose on his own. Gunther had to be out there to cause a distraction. We then go backstage and Jey Uso cuts a promo, and Jimmy and Solo both interrupt. So now we know that members of the Bloodline are in the house. We go backstage once again and we get Sami Zayn and Chad Gable. And Chad Gable tells Sami, he tries to remind him, Gunther is not just a physical opponent. It's mental. You've got to be mentally strong to be able to go against Gunther. We need to change your approach. And the two men kind of shake hands, almost as if Sami is going to let Gable try to train him. To Emmanuel's point, training montage doesn't feel like it's enough now to believe Sami can win, especially when we're only going to get 1 week montage. At best, we'll get something next week. Maybe one more leading into actual WrestleMania, just before the match. But I don't know. I think they took too long to pull the trigger here. This then led to the Jey Uso Shinsuke Nakamura match, which was a good match. One of the best matches of the night, all the way up until Jimmy Uso and Solo came out, started brawling with everybody. Seth and Cody came out. Seth started fighting with Solo. Jimmy fighting with Cody. Drew McIntyre then came out when Seth was getting the upper hand on Solo so that he could get some. The brawl with Jimmy and Cody led to the back where The Rock got involved. And The Rock basically took over and just beat the ever-living shit out of Cody Rhodes. Took him outside, was slamming him on cars into Cody's bus, dangling him slightly over the railing like he's going to throw him over. This was a level of brutality from The Rock that I have not seen since the 1999 I Quit match. It was insane brutality from The Rock. Yeah, we even drew blood. You couldn't not, though. With the shit that Rock was throwing Cody into, there was no way you could do all that and not have blood. And then, of course, The Rock pulls out his belt. It says Mama Rhodes on it and starts putting some of Cody's blood on it so that he can present it to her at WrestleMania. This was just freaking intense. Arguably, the highlights of the night were the opening and closing segments with The Rock and Cody, and the segment with Punk, Drew, and Seth. Everything else was just kind of meh to me. So while Aaron Rift gave it an A+, while some people over here saying that this was the greatest Raw since the Attitude Era, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 because the matches just weren't it for me on this show. The segments were what kept me entertained. And the segments are usually what bore me to tears. So they're definitely doing something right in the writing, in the booking, in the way that they're trying to drive these stories to Mania. But the matches and all that stuff just weren't it. What did you guys think of Raw last night? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Yeah, the ending is 10 out of 10, but what about overall for the entire show, Safet? Let me know. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm going to take a moment here, and I'm going to run our WrestleMania week trailer, show you all the content that's going to be coming up across the multiverse of media, kicking off Saturday with Open Mic Night Karaoke, going all the way through the Raw after Mania. So many things lined up for you guys on the Casa D18 Studios channel, the Jeff Meacham Network, the Simple Man's Brand, Rangers of Wrestling, the Jay Hebert Studios, Rage of Wrestling, and so much more. Stay tuned. We'll be back in about 3 minutes after this trailer runs.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
We are back. So I wasn't joking when I said that there is a lot of content coming up, kicking off on Saturday. Safet says he always gets chills hearing the two themes mixed together. Thank you very much for that. I'm the one that mixed that myself. Jeff has some friends in a band named Rose Scythe, ROSESCYTHE. And they are the ones who recorded those songs. Because of Jeff's acquaintance with them, we were given permission to use those. And I'm the one that blended the two themes together when making that trailer. So I appreciate the love there. As far as Raw goes, both Safet and Emmanuel give it 7 out of 10. So they even rank it lower than me as far as the ring action and everything. Good to know that I'm not alone here in my thoughts. That is going to just about wrap things up for today. Make sure you tune in this afternoon. I believe Statboy said 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Give me just a second to verify that. Yes, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern time. The bar will reopen. I'm sure he'll be given a bit of a UFL preview as that kicks off football on Saturday. The combination of the USFL and the XFL. So spring football is back. Of course, he'll have hockey, he'll have basketball, he'll have NASCAR and golf and all the other good stuff. The food is hot, the beer is ice cold, and the seats are warm. So pull up a bar stool and engage in some professional sports conversation with your barkeep, Statboy Mike. Of course, you're going to want to make sure that you tune in tomorrow for another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling, where I will be back and I will be doing my reviews, my thoughts of NXT and today's NWA Power. Same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, thank you very much for joining us and tuning in today. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.